85 years, we've seen the Dark Knight in almost every iteration imaginable. We've seen him as a Victorian detective, a feudal Japanese ninja, a Soviet citizen. But in 2025, DC and Warner Brothers Animation took the most ambitious leap into the Elseworlds territory with a project that didn't just change the setting, it changed and reimagined the very soul of Batman mythos. I'm talking about Aztec Batman, Clash of Empires. This isn't just a what if story. It is a culturally rich, high-stakes, historical epic that places the Caped Crusader in the heart of the 16th century Aztec Empire during the arrival of the Spanish conquistadors. Today we are deep diving into the production, the history and the controversy surrounding this movie that proved the legend of Batman is truly universal. Now, Aztec Batman Clash of Empires is an adult animated historical superhero film. It marks a historic milestone as the first ever collaboration between Warner Brothers Animation, Ánima and Chatrone. Released in September of 2025, the film takes a unique distribution path, with it hitting the Mexican theaters in the 18th of September 2025 via Cinépolis Distribution, followed by a wide North American digital and home media release the very next day on the 19th. While it sits firmly in the DC Elseworlds tradition, the stories that take place outside of the main continuity, that is, it distinguishes itself by being produced entirely in Mexico, bringing a level of regional authenticity rarely seen in a major superhero production. Our story begins not in Gotham, but in the vibrant, sprawling city of Tenochtitlán, as we follow Yohualli Coatl, a young man of noble Aztec birth whose life is shattered when his father, Toltecatzin, this world's version of Thomas Wayne, is murdered by Spanish invaders led by the ruthless Hernán Cortés. Driven by grief and a need for justice, Yohualli flees the temple of the Bat God, Tzinacan. There, under the guidance of his mentor Acatzin, he begins the rigorous transformation. He develops specialized obsidian weaponry, armor inspired by the indigenous aesthetic, and a tactical mind to wage a one-man war against the colonizers. But he isn't just fighting a foreign army, he's caught in a brewing civil war between his own people and the rising madness of a disfigured high priest known as Yoka. It's a reimagining that swaps the urban jungle for the rainforest and the Batmobile for some ancient ingenuity. To make this world, the writers had to thread a very fine needle between DC lore and Mesoamerican history. The film draws heavily from Elseworlds comic tradition, shall we say. Think Gotham by Gaslight or Red Sun, where the core DNA of the character is transplanted into a new timeline, and the mythology is where it gets fascinating. The Batman persona is tied directly to the Tzinacan, the Mayan Aztec bat god of the underworld. This gives the fear element of Batman a more divine, terrifying weight. On the historical side, the film integrates real events from the Spanish conquest, including the arrival of the conquistadors and the complex politics of the Aztec Triple Alliance. It's a blend of, shall we say, Apocalypto and Year One. The production journey of Aztec Batman began back in June of 2022 when it was announced at the Guadalajara International Film Festival. The goal was simple but bold: create a Batman story for Latin America. by Latin Americans. The project was spearheaded by Juan Menza Leon, who brought his high-octane experience from Harley Quinn, the animated series. Production was handled by Ánima Studios, Mexico's premier animation house, to ensure the film didn't just feel like a costume swap. The team hired Alejandro Diaz Barriga, a renowned cultural consultant and scholar of the Mesoamerican history, to oversee everything from the architecture of the temples to the specific design of the armor. Warner Brothers gave the creative team a long leash, resulting in a film that feels distinctly different from the house style of previous DC animated movies. The talent behind the microphone is a who's who of both Mexican and international stars. In the original Spanish version, Horacio Garcia Rosa voices Yohualli/Batman, bringing a grounded vengeance and intensity to the role. He is joined by Alvaro Morte, best known for the Professor from The Money Heist, who voices the villainous Hernán Cortés, a character designed as a colonial mirror of Two-Face. The English dub features Jay Hernandez of Suicide Squad fame as Batman, and Raymond Cruz from Breaking Bad as Yoka, the world's Joker. Behind the scenes, the script was co-written with Ernie Altbacker, a veteran of the Justice League Dark films, ensuring that despite the historical setting, the pacing and action felt like a true blue DC blockbuster. When The Clash of Empires finally dropped, the reaction was passionate, to say the least. Critics praised the film for its stunning art direction and the brilliant reimagination of the Rogues Gallery. It currently holds a 4.5 out of 5 on several movie review sites, with many calling it the most fresh DC project in a decade. Commercially, the film was a massive hit on digital platforms and did respectable numbers in the limited theatrical run in Mexico. It proved there was a hunger in the market for a global Batman story. However, it wasn't a universal slam dunk. Some critics felt that the 89 minutes runtime was a little too short to fully explore the complex historical backdrop, leading to what some called as a bit of uneven pacing in the second act. But you can't tackle the Spanish conquest without sparking a little debate. The film faced some criticism regarding cultural accuracy versus creative liberty. Some historians and viewers pointed out that having the Aztecs speak Spanish, even for the sake of the audience, was a more missed opportunity for a more authentic native language experience. There was also a vocal online debate about the portrayal of the Aztecs themselves. While the film positions them as, well, the heroes against the colonial invaders, some argue the movie sanitizes the darker aspects of the empire, such as its ritualistic sacrifices, to make them more traditional superheroes. Conversely, others argue that within the context of the Elseworlds story, the film has every right to mythologize the culture, just like Hollywood has mythologized the Wild West or medieval Europe. Now, if you're looking to add this to your shelf, Warner Brothers Home Entertainment released it on the 23rd of September 2025 on all three physical media formats: 4K Ultra HD, Blu-ray and DVD, which actually all include the two featurettes titled The Battle Cry of the Aztec Batman, a behind the scenes of the voice actors, and the Batman mythology and Aztec inspiration, about the creative and historical insights into the inspiration of this film. There was also a special edition steelbook with some artwork by some prominent Mexican illustrators. Now, a good mate of mine, Del at Del on Movies, he recommended this one to me to give it a watch. And I gotta say, thanks, Del, I was not disappointed. This is a great movie. And as a Batman fan, I always get a kick out of seeing how different cultures view Batman and how their take on the Caped Crusader works in their cultural aspects. For me, the movie was enjoyable, the script was solid, and the action was great. But probably one small critique that I have is that there is a lot of story to try and unpack in 89 minutes or so. You know, maybe an extra 15 minutes or so would help flesh out some of the characters and their motivations. That would have been nice, but look, they still did a great job in the time they had. And when it comes to these movies, it's always fun to see if you can spot the new takes on the characters, like, say, for instance, Forest Ivy, which is a Mesoamerican take on Poison Ivy, who uses the jungle flora to protect the land. And of course, Hernandez Cortés as Two-Face, though he does kind of rock this half-mask thing like Deathstroke in the beginning before he goes full Two-Face. And instead of flipping a silver dollar, he's got a scratched gold doubloon, which I thought was kind of cool. And as a big fan of the Batman armor, that really incorporated that whole Aztec aesthetic of that bat god motif. It just looked really cool and menacing at the same time. Look, I really enjoyed this movie, and at the end, it actually teases a possible sequel, which I am totally down for, that's for sure. Look, honestly, I give this movie a solid 8 out of 10. This is a great movie for any Batman or DC fan out there at all. So what does Aztec Batman mean for the future? Well, it's really a proof of concept. It showed that the DC brand is flexible enough to handle deep cultural dives without losing its identity. It paved the way for more diverse storytelling in the animation space and suggests that Batman isn't just a man in Gotham, it's a symbol that can exist in any era of resistance in time. It has already sparked rumors of a Batman Ninja style sequel or even a Inca Superman project. I'll tell you what, that sounds interesting. Aztec Batman Clash of Empires. It's a rare beast. It's a movie that honours the legacy of Bill Finger and Bob Kane while paying deep respect to the history of Mexico. It reminds us that in its heart, Batman is a story about turning tragedy into a force for change, no matter what country you're in. Whether you're a die-hard DC fan or a history buff, this is one Batman story you do not want to miss. Next week on the show, we're going to look at my collection update for January 2026. So make sure you come back and check out and see what I picked up. Thanks for watching.